Zero.
If I could save time in your sorrow.
Done with it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Brainy's Peach Tea. This is episode 163 for those who are counting. And yep, we got Time in a Bottle by John. I'm going to maybe butcher last name by Crochet?
Good enough for me.
Good enough for you. Croce. Okay, fine enough. From X-Men Days of Future Past, the awesome Quicksilver scene. This is the song that's playing through that, so we figured appropriate time to open up our show with this, as we will be discussing some more X-Men Days of Future Past, because there was an alternate cut of this film called the Road Cut, which also did come out as well. So we'll be talking about that today. But thanks for joining us as always. If you're joining us on your Facebook live stream, if you're joining us on YouTube or X, or wherever you found your audio-only podcast, we always appreciate the support. I'm Ed, and with me now is Rick, who has been on the show many a time. If you do listen to our show or watch our show, Jason is out for a couple of weeks on his vacation, so hopefully he enjoys that. Rick will be sitting in for him. And what's up? Excited to do this, dude. We actually are doing a show together, like just us.
The sixth man gets a start now.
Yes, there you go.
Just like the New York Knicks, the number of injuries have led to guys playing new roles to keep the train chugging along. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I'm obviously I'm gonna miss Jason. I love chatting with him also, but I'll do my best to step in his without his presence.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And listen, it'll be good. You know, Rick and I have known each other for quite a long time. Got a good rapport here. So, and we shoot the shit about this stuff on our own, right? Like on text and on.
We have to limit. Yeah. We have to limit our conversations.
Basically. So, it should be fun, man. But dude, what's up? How's it going? How's it going in Florida these days and stuff like that? We just had a pretty big storm up here yesterday.
It's being Florida, you know. Okay. It's very much like Puerto Rico. It rains like every 3 hours, but it rains for like 10 minutes. And then we're out here in the Tampa area. So, you know, one of our teams is called the Thunder. You know, the other one's the Lightning. I'm sure there's somebody called the Storm out here too. It's so when it comes through, there's big bangs, but it's been really nice. I'm actually wearing shades right now because I'm shooting from my man cave, and there's actually a lot of sun coming in right now. You can see how it's actually kind of reflecting.
Our sun's going down a little bit, but I got the blind going down over here to try to like keep the light out as well. But no, it cleared up today. But yeah, yesterday we were hit pretty bad with some stuff, but no water in the basement. So we're good.
Finally,
it's been working. It's fingers crossed, knock on wood. It has been good. And I was actually doing a show with Jason when my basement flooded a couple of years ago. Like in the middle of the show it happened. When after the shows and I walked downstairs and I told you that the water was up to my knees. Now, for those who aren't aware, I'm 6'2". So to my knees, pretty fucking high. And that was insane. So yeah, but hey, listen, some changes have been made and we're good to go.
So you didn't know during the show?
I had no idea. All I knew was it was raining. And all of a sudden, I went downstairs. Angie's like, you should check on the basement because I forgot where she was. I think she may have been just like working or something. And I went downstairs. I was like, holy shit, what is going on? So, yeah, it was a pretty big shocker there. And I told Jason about it. He was like, what the hell?
Yeah, the luxury of home ownership.
Yes. It has its pros and cons for sure. And that's definitely one of the cons there because you got to take care of all that shit. So, all right. So let's jump into it then, shall we? We actually did get an unexpected trailer earlier today. I'm gonna be honest, like I was aware that a Hellboy another reboot was coming after the this is the second reboot, right? Like, so we had the original with Ron Perlman and its sequel, and then the reboot came, which was just Hellboy, and damn, actor who's playing Hellboy in that is escaping my name right now. Why is it?
Oh, it's the guy from
Stranger Things, David Harbour.
Yes.
So I was excited when he was announced, and when I saw the trailers, I'm like, oh, all right, this looks pretty cool. And then I saw the film.
Yeah.
Not great.
I mean, Guillermo del Toro is a big part of Hellboy. At least Hellboy like I know him.
Yes. I know, and I'm excited that we're doing the show today because I know you're a fan of the original Hellboy, which I admit, I didn't hate the original movie, but like I was like okay with it. Like it was like whatever. I hate using that term, but like it was like yeah, it was whatever. As the kids say, mid.
Oh.
But no, I mean, it didn't do that much for me, and I didn't bother with the sequel. And then when the reboot came out, I'm like, oh, let me give this a shot. And holy shit, that reboot was fucking boring as hell. It was brutal. You saw it, right? Like
I saw it. They missed the target, and I knew they were gonna, because with the originals, I never like crossed the line and like went and read the comic book. Like I watched the movies and I really liked the movies. Why did I watch it? It's a comic book character, number one, so I'm going to support. Number two, Guillermo del Toro was making it, and I'll watch anything that he makes.
There you go.
Like he's one of my top 5. Like he's a level or two below Kubrick, but like when I talk about Kubrick, like he's a guy that I could talk about in that same manner. Okay. I love all of his earlier films. I love his current stuff. His style really works with me. So in the Hellboy films, like Abe Sapien is such a weird character. I freaking loved him. You know, the villains were all so weird and whimsical. Like they can be in a Harry Potter movie, some of the villains. However, in his film, they were kind of scary, you know? He's the guy that it would be interesting to see him do a Doctor Strange movie or a Moon Knight or a Swamp Thing.
Or how about the one you've been advocating for a while? What if he did Midnight Suns?
Oh, God.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm definitely speaking your language here with it. And, you know, Jason and I sometimes end up going off into, like, discussions about horror movies and stuff like that. And Rick is also a huge horror fan. Dude. Don't you have Shudder? Didn't you actually subscribe, or you're just dabbling in this thing?
No, I watch it. My current thing, I've like watched all of the Korean horror, so now I've started moving into the what do you call it? When they have the short stories in the horror movie, like Creep Show, anthology
series.
So now I'm all about the anthology horror movies from the like 70s and 80s. They're terrible, but they're a lot of fun to watch. It's just, you know, it's a train wreck that nobody gets hurt in.
Like Creep Show.
Yes.
Creep Show's an anthology. I remember seeing both of those too. And,
your boy from The Naked Gun. He plays
Liam Neeson's in it. Yeah, no, he is. Which was cool. I remember I was like shocked when I saw that, but as I got older, I'm like, that's really cool that he, you know, went out of his comfort zone, because actually when he did Airplane and Naked Gun, prior to that, he was a very serious actor and stuff like that. And this was like totally shocking to people that he did a comedy. But for that type of humor, it sells it because you have to be deadpan and make it sound like you're totally serious about what you're saying. And that's what makes it funny. So he was like the perfect choice for that. But I didn't know that because I was introduced to him in The Naked Gun and Airplane. And my father was the one who like explained it to me. And I was like, oh shit. And then I saw a couple of things he did previously. And I'm like, oh, now I get it. Okay. So he's not just like the slapstick comedy guy. Like that's what made it extra funny for people who were aware of his whole body of work. So cool that he was in Creep Show as well.
Yeah, he's a hell of a creep in it. I suggest if I think you could find it on YouTube with just the one episode of him. Like, if you don't want to watch the whole movie, at least watch the one episode. It's interesting seeing him play that role, and it's a cool episode. It's got a nice twist.
Nice. All right, so why don't we go ahead? We're going to do a live trailer reaction here for this. Let me get to Alex's comment quick. Alex, what's up? Alex is Jason's nephew, actually. He's probably like, no, Jason today. I was like, no,
What's up,
Jason.
Alex?
Jason is doing his own Jason's European vacation is what he's actually on because he's going around Europe right now. So we'll definitely have to do a segment when he comes back of Jason's European vacation to get a hold of that and see how that went. But all right, let's check out this trailer for Hellboy, the Crooked Man, which is, again, the current reboot that's going on here. And let's see what's up.
Something in these hills. Something haunted. Evil. It smells like death.
How do you know that?
Dark things called dark things.
I heard tales about him all my life. Most just called him the Crooked Man.
We've got company.
All your friends, they all gonna die.
All right. That was probably... I'm sure you had the same... I'm curious. You can go speak on this first. So what was your takeaway from the teaser trailer, especially since this is totally out of left field for you?
So I didn't know this was coming out. I assumed there would be a Hellboy property at some point because people like me like Hellboy, and we will go to the theater and spend $12 to watch a Hellboy movie. So I assumed something was going to happen. I wish it'd be Ron Perlman, but it is what it is. I'll take what I get.
Yeah.
I saw this picture for the trailer earlier today when you shared it, and I was like, he looks good. All right, like, let's go. But I didn't watch the trailer.
Okay.
I was focusing on X-Men all day. And so now that I've seen it, I feel like I'm either really gonna fucking like it, or I'm gonna be like, well, they made a Hellboy movie and I watched it. It looks. Is it me or did it feel like the Blair Witch kind of?
All right. So yeah, I'm glad you said that. So I agree with you. I think the dude playing Hellboy looks pretty good. I don't think that's the issue, right? That wasn't the issue with the the David Harbour movie either. He looked fine. He actually was fine. I didn't have any issues with him. It was everything else around him. And I gotta be this look. I knew this was gonna be like a low budget remake, and it was focused on apparently the Crooked Man is a for Hellboy comic fans is like a big story, and it's supposedly one of if not the best Hellboy story. So they're kind of going that route, and it looks like the creator of Hellboy is the one who's directing and wrote this movie. So that's what's kind of interesting about this. So yes, it looks very much like a low budget horror movie to me. Like outside of Hellboy, everything else just seems like this could be on Shudder or something like that.
Yes.
You know, like, yeah.
I was thinking Channel Zero on Sci-Fi Channel. Like this could be season 4.
Yeah, something like that.
Like,
and when I say that, I don't mean it as a knock. I'm just saying is that, like, we had the original 2 movies, and again, I saw the original one, very much a lot of CGI and things like that, and then Guillermo del Toro, a lot of practical special effects. It doesn't look like there's a lot of that going on here. It's very toned down, very much like down to earth kind of, and it just seems like it's kind of just like a horror mystery or like murder mystery type story thing that's going on here. And that's kind of a cool approach to take something very drastically different from the previous 2 incarnations of Hellboy that we've got at least on screen. I'm hoping, and I kind of getting some vibes that this is going to be kind of like what Dredd did for Judge Dredd.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like, remember, they scaled it back. They got Carl Urban, who at that time wasn't really that well known.
Badass.
He was awesome.
They badassed Dredd when they did that. Like, they took this like character and they were like, just make him Stone Cold. Just Attitude Era this movie. Like,
yeah, they went full rated R and went in on it and went lower budget, and it worked. And unfortunately, though, because they didn't have a lot of money to promote the movie, not a lot of people saw it at the box office, but it got a huge cult following once it hit streaming and Blu-ray at the time and everything like that. And I know there was talks of a sequel series, Dread Mega City, for a while, and I just never quite got going yet. But maybe one day we will get something like that. But I'm hoping this does the same type of thing. Like, maybe scaling it back is the right move, and it works. I mean, obviously, I'm going to see it. I'm going to go there. I'm going to check it out, see what it is. Hopefully, Hellboy the third time around on screen does it for me. I mean, we will cover the other ones when we get to it. When this movie comes out, leading up to it, I can promise you here, we'll cover the 3 Hellboy movies that exist. We will power through the David Harbour one. Hey, we've done much worse, dude.
None of them are going to touch the bottom of the barrel. Like, they're going to be nowhere near. They're going to land very softly in the lower tier of comic book movies. Nowhere near the bottom, because money was spent on these films, and you can always look at them and tell that they spent money.
They will be movies, at least.
Correct. They will be movies. Discussion. There will be a script. Actors will be on set.
Yes.
Charcuterie, like film in the camera. Like, they will be movies. All of them. This one, I haven't even seen it. I'm going to tell you it's going to be a movie. I'm going to just lay it on the line.
Yes. I hope that's what we're getting here. I want it to be a movie. Because you did Supergirl with us. And we had to question if that was an actual film or not.
It was on the borderline.
Yeah, that was one of the toughest ones we've tackled here.
The thing with this film, before we move on, a silver lining to it is it reminded me of the Blair Witch. It reminded me of like freaking Paranormal Activity. It reminded me of like Evil Dead 2. Like, it just has this camp look to it, the toned down look to it.
Yeah.
The thing about all the movies I just named is people fucking love them.
Yeah.
So if you can capture camp correctly, like, who knows? This might be awesome.
It could be. I mean, and based on the trailer, I mean, I will admit it piqued my interest of what this is. Like, the trailers piqued my interest from zero expectation to be like, oh, okay. We have a movie.
Where are you now? 0 to 100. Where did you go? You 0 to
0 to 100. I don't know. I mean, I would say I'm probably 75, maybe. Like,
all right.
No, I'm just saying, like, I'm interested. Like, when it comes out, I'm not going to be like, oh, God, I got... Like, it's not like I'm going to go watch Madam Web or something like that.
You're not going to miss a softball game to go watch this movie on opening night.
No, that's only, like, Deadpool and Wolverine. Or that takes a lot for me to be like, okay, maybe we got... No, actually, that's BS, because I would find a way around it. Movies happen every couple hours. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can always do that.
Go to the 4 o'clock show, make your 8 o'clock game.
Exactly. That's what I'll do. I will make sure it happens. But for this, yeah, maybe I will just go the next morning. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we'll get more. We'll see more from it leading up to it. And as they reveal more, hopefully we see we're still on board and we don't see some lunacy and be like, oh, okay, let's scale it back. What the fuck am I walking into right now?
I'm going to watch it regardless. The whole thing is if they're going to make me watch it on opening day or if they're going to make me watch it on Peacock 2 months later.
Yeah, see, I see. I mean, for mine and the show's purposes, we will see it opening weekend and we'll do that. But I will say outside of that, you're right. Do I wait for streaming? And I have Regal Unlimited. So that takes a lot for me to be like, no. Because the more I use it, right, the better, the more I get out of it, right? More bang for my buck.
I don't have that because the movies, just the last year, the COVID and the writer's strike, like everything got so slowed down.
Mhm.
So in the last year, it's been rough going for films. But I got mall parking, which is excellent parking, and movie theaters. Two of them are 5 minutes away from me, and $5 Tuesday. Like there's nothing to keep me from seeing something I want to see, other than poor promotion or a poor film.
Yeah. And if I see it like on an opening day, I'll tell you right away, like, hey, you should go check this out. Which, by the way, you should go check out A Quiet Place Day One.
Oh, I'm gonna see. Yeah,
I really
I'm
enjoyed
super late on it. Isn't it out? When did it come out?
No, it just came out this past weekend.
Oh yeah, but that's late for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. For people like me and you who will see a lot of shit opening, all you got to do is just be kind of interested, and we'll find the time opening weekend.
Right.
Yeah. So, no, I saw it, and I really enjoyed it. Me and Angie both really enjoyed it, and the best part of it was that for the third time now, seeing A Quiet Place in the theater, it had the effect of making people be quiet.
What?
Yes, because I will admit, as much as I love the movie theater experience, and I do, I genuinely really enjoy it. It's been some rough sledding over the last some odd months, with just always one jackass, no matter what time I go, just yapping. And
Well,
silence.
I mean, you want to be the liberal living in the big city with 8 billion people in it. Like when I go to the movie theater down here in Florida, it's like me, 2 people on vacation, some kids skipping school, a guy on a ventilator and his nurse that rolled him in.
Oh my god!
And we're all like sitting there watching Morbius, at noon. You know, they're not even serving beer in the fucking theater.
Jesus.
That's my normal. For anyone watching the show that doesn't know me, that's my normal theater going experience. Tuesday matinee, like $5. It's gonna be you, the kid skipping school, the guy on the ventilator, his nurse, and then like some couple that's visiting from like, I don't know, New York or somewhere. That's
Wow.
8 of us.
So I guess while we're on this now, before we move on to the boys, I gotta know something though. Deadpool and Wolverine is opening night. Is that the scene in Florida for you?
Bro, I'm gonna be there.
No, I know you will be there like first showing. Like I think you will make 3 o'clock happen or whatever the hell it is. You will make
whatever the first showing is. Yeah.
Yeah. No, me and Jason and Angie and our friend Joe, we have first showing. So this is different now.
So I'm gonna go, and it's gonna be exactly what I described to you for the very first showing.
Oh my God.
Maybe like 2 or 3 people that just happen to have off that day and they don't want to go fishing or shoot guns. And like they're gonna be there. So it might be 20 people, probably gonna be 8. So I'll be able to sit there, watch the film, enjoy myself. Like if I have to go to the bathroom, nobody's gonna be in my lane. I sit in like so you know the best seats is where you have the like walkway.
Yep.
And then you have the first high set where you can like put your feet on the pole.
Exactly.
That's the best.
That's what I shoot for.
That's the best seat. So now my favorite seat is the high end on the low side of that.
Okay.
And because nobody sits in that row, so nobody bothers you. Everybody's too busy jockeying for the high seats. So like I sit there, it's basically the same view as your seats.
Yeah.
And nobody bothers me.
Okay. Yeah, I can get down with that.
I don't like to be bothered when I watch a movie. I don't like the.
Yeah. Rick, we've been to the theater together. I don't say a fucking word. I am silent. I am a fucking like mime or whatever. Like that's it. Just watching the movie. That's it.
Dude,
so
when I'm taking a shower, my phone is playing something outside of the shower. When I'm changing my daughter, I'm like watching a YouTube video or listening to something. My phone is always on doing something.
Yes.
When I go to the movies is the only time that I like check with my wife, like everything's cool.
Yeah.
I fucking turn my phone off for the 2 hours or whatever it is. Like
That's it.
that's the only time that it actually gets turned off and put down with a hat on top of it.
No, mine gets turned off, and then when I go to sleep, it gets turned off. Because, again, my wife's there, my dogs are here. Just about like anything else I can probably hear about in the morning.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I leave mine in the living room when I go to sleep, so I wouldn't see it anyway.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Let's just get into it now. We got a show to discuss here. The Boys season 4, episode
As
5.
we digress for the first half hour.
Hey, listen. One of the great things about this show is that sometimes we don't know where the hell conversation will end up taking us. It could
That is
start off
true.
one place and go to God knows where. I mean, Jason and I have discussed random shit over the last couple of weeks regarding, it's the Boys had us contemplating the fact that if you're a clone and the guy in episode 3 who was tossing the salad of the other clones, was it considered masturbation or was he a homosexual?
Huh. What did you guys come up to?
I think we both landed on masturbation technically because he is having sex with himself.
But he's not in charge of himself. Masturbate. I own my hand is part of my body.
Yes,
He
they are
has
part
to,
of him though.
They're not. He has to give them verbal orders, and they have to agree to follow the orders.
But when they killed the Prime, they all died too. So there was still a connection.
Nope. I'm
What?
dissenting from you guys.
That's
It was-
fine. That's fine. There's no right or wrong answer. That's why I was like, we're speaking in. I even told Jason that we're speaking insanity right now because this is all insane. But he posed the question to me, and we had to contemplate this. You know,
My
we asked the
fa-
hard-hitting questions.
My favorite thing is when somebody asks you an opinion-based question. What is your favorite cereal? Well, for you, that'd be a terrible question. But for most people, what is your favorite cereal? And they will give an answer. And then the person will spend the next 20 minutes explaining to you why that's not the best cereal. Like, I love that shit. When opinion-based questions, and it's like, no, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Yes. Listen, there's certain things you can. Yeah, exactly. If you ask for someone's opinion, now
It's an opinion-based question. You can't be wrong.
I get that. But
You can
now,
have your own opinion.
Yes. Now I would say is I'm not gonna lie. I would probably catch myself saying, okay, that's fair. But if you go on to explain said opinion, and said opinion is based on nonsensical things that don't actually incorrect things, not opinion based, it's totally incorrect. It's like, Rick, the shirt you're wearing is my favorite because it's orange. You would be like, no, that is wrong. That is obviously not the case. So if that's what you're basing it on, then just don't explain. If you don't explain it, I remember you put on Facebook, right? Ketchup, was it ketchup, onions, and sauerkraut is your 3 hot topping hot dog, right?
New York City, baby.
Okay, my first thought was
the real onions too, the red ones with the sauce, not chopped fucking fresh onions.
Yeah, my first thought was, where the fuck is the mustard? But I'm like, you know something? It is his opinion. He's allowed to do it.
I did not like mustard until I started going to Yankee games as like in my early 20s, and there was never fucking ketchup in any of the stands. Because remember, this is old Yankee Stadium, and nobody gave a shit. Like, we were winning championships, but nobody gave a shit. So you could like go get a hot dog, and like you would find a mustard packet on the floor somewhere, and like you would at least be able to put some kind of condiment on your hot dog. So that's the reason that I don't have mustard on my hot dog. But I respect mustard because it saved me on many Yankee games where there was no ketchup.
Mustard is a priority for me. If I do ketchup, mustard, and sauerkraut, but if I had to get rid of one, I would get rid of the ketchup, and I would go mustard, sauerkraut. But
no onions?
No, I'm gonna be honest, not an onion guy. I like onions on other stuff, but it just on a hot dog, Now remember, I only got pick 3, so it
Yeah,
would
yeah.
be ketchup, mustard, sauerkraut.
Oh, that's true, because I don't have mustard. I have the
You don't have
ketchup in
mustard.
there.
Exactly.
True.
That's
All right, yeah. Because I was always eating dirty water dogs in Central Park.
yeah, of course.
Dirty water dogs had the onions.
Yes.
Or what's the place that had the fucking 2 hot dogs? Frank's Papayas.
Gray's papaya.
Gray's Papayas.
Yes.
They had the onions.
Yes, they did.
So everywhere I went, the onions were like, you got to do
Okay.
that.
Fair enough.
It's like getting an Italian sausage. You don't get the peppers on it. Come on, get out of here.
And that's Angie.
She's from Missouri.
Exactly. She puts yellow mustard on it, and every time I almost want to throw it. Like, what is going on right now? What? Where am I?
You don't even put that on a brat, and you're gonna put it on Italian sausage.
Yeah, no. All right. Listen. Either way, let's get to the boys here. Interesting episode here. There's some wild shit that goes down here. One of my favorite things, what starts the episode off, is they have a whole presentation that is peppered throughout the episode called the V52. The V52 Expo, which is obviously a parody of D23, Disney, and they even basically use the same layout to introduce phases 7 through 19. Obviously mocking the MCU and Kevin Feige's presentations and stuff, but it's hilarious as they keep cutting back to it over and over. You got Training A-Train. There's the one with Firecracker, which is like Lord's Warrior or some shit like that. And there was another one, the Tech Knight situation I thought was great because he's, a parody of Batman, of Bruce Wayne. And he even says they had it Tech Knight in the font of the Batman. So they were totally taking a shot at Batman, and specifically the Batman, because he even just comes out and says, well, it's only been about 18 months since my last movie, so it's obviously time for a reboot. And therefore we have the Tech Knight. And he's like, it'll be an all Nirvana soundtrack and everything like that. And I was like, all right, you're definitely making sure you're not making sure no one
Batman.
misses this. Yeah. It was, that I thought was pretty damn fun. And the way that they peppered him throughout the episode. And also in the opening scene, we see Homelander kind of twitching out a little bit. And he's having flashbacks of what happened a week before when he went home and basically lasered that guy's dick off and went ahead and put a dude in a fucking oven and murdered basically the entire staff there. And
murdered, dismembered.
Yes, there was just blood all over the walls and all over him. Yeah.
It was worse than murder.
He turned them to sauce, essentially.
Yes.
That's
gravy if it's the Sopranos.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely impact. And Sage is talking to him, and just nobody's home. You can tell he's just totally spazzing out and twitching, and they show his stuff, and she's just like, okay, what's up with this guy? And I thought it was interesting to see that he was the way that they're dipping into Homelander's personality and his mental state in this season has been one of the most fascinating storylines for me personally. What about you?
I'm with you. They are doing their fucking best since episode 1 to make him look like the most vile villain of all time. Like, Negan has nothing on this guy.
No.
Nothing.
No.
And if Negan had superpowers, he would still have nothing on this guy.
Yes.
Homelander's probably the worst villain I've ever seen. Game of Thrones. The guy who chopped the other guy's wiener off and was eating a sausage.
Oh, Ramses
Baratheon,
yeah.
Right,
He's pretty bad.
Homelander, that's the only guy I could compare Homelander to. And if he had superpowers, he might be as bad as Homelander. He's the only guy, in the history of everything I've seen. Brightburn wouldn't be as bad as Homelander.
Not even Joffrey.
Not even Joffrey would be as bad as Homelander.
Because remember, everyone was like, Joffrey, and all of a sudden Ramses got introduced on Game of Thrones and was like, oh. holding a beer.
Joffrey looked like a fucking middle schooler.
Yeah, exactly.
So, when I watch characters, we're wrestling guys. We're wrestling guys. We know what a baby face is. We know what a heel is. We know what a heel turn is. We know what a face turn is. Like, we're not casuals. Using all this jargon to drive home that we've seen these stories a million times.
Mhm.
You've never seen an irredeemable character.
Yeah,
Until
and so they can tell Homelander. Yeah.
I don't there the only way that Homelander could have a face turn for me in this show would be if the Impossible, not Vitruvians, what are they? The
Viltrumites.
the Viltrumites. If the Viltrumites were to like attack Earth and Homelander like sacrifices himself like Tony Stark to like
Wow.
save the whole planet,
Wow.
that's the only way that he could possibly fucking have a redemption arc. So all of these humanizing stories,
Uh-huh.
they're humanizing a school shooter. Nobody's ever gonna be fucking cool with this character, or at least I'm not.
No, and I don't disagree with you because I've said this in the last couple of weeks is and listen, number one, I don't think that they are going to try to have a redemption arc for Homelander. I think A-Train, they're definitely going for it. Now we'll see if it happens. Homelander, no. I don't think there's any way back, and I don't even want it. Like, I don't even want it. But I don't think that's what it is. I think they're just trying to explain some of his madness, but they're layering the character. You know what I mean? Not like he's just, he likes killing people. He's just vindictive. But why? You know what I mean? Like, we've always talked about why a villain does what they do is what makes them better. Like, if they have a proper motivation, but they somewhere along the line go too far, you can that's what makes the best villains. Right?
What's the writer for this series again? I'm just blanking on his name.
Give me 1 second. I'll pull up his name. For the show, not for the
No, for the comic book.
Oh, Garth Ennis.
Right. A lot of these guys, these new age writers, I'm starting to feel like so much of what they're pulling from is father-son relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So everything, like, when is the last time we really fucking like dove in on one of these shows that it wasn't like, gotta fight your dad now? You know, like it's just such a recurring theme for our age bracket. And I won't say our age bracket like 45, but I'd say our age bracket like 55 to 35.
Okay.
Because dads were still fucking tough men back then. They weren't super sensitive. I think the relationships were a little different back then. And I think a lot of guys in that 55 to 35 age bracket are still trying to make sense of their relationship with their dad because they're super cool with their fucking 5-year-old kid. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we might be seeing things really simply at this time and trying to like answer the fucking life's great mysteries. And I feel like that's a lot of what we keep seeing replayed on these series is it's not even about the aliens. It's not even about the others. It's not even about this. It's about like a man who was lacking male leadership in his life and was being abused by others.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what's his response? Can he be impossible? You know, fuck. I keep blanking on his name. Not indestructible, not invincible.
Invincible.
Like, can he be invincible? Like, can he be this guy? Can he be that? It's always this situation of like, when we remove all of the barriers of like the outside world, can you be a good person or will you be a bad person because of what the world did to you? It's the same thing we see in gangster movies, you know?
Yeah.
there's always a character that's influenced by the negativity of the world and the gangsters around him. Can this character be the one to break the chain, you know?
Yeah.
And this is just another version of that. Can you break the chain? Like, can you, you know?
Well, I think also I want to separate, like, Eric Kripke is the guy who runs the show with the boys, right? Who's been very vocal about a lot of things this season, responding to some people, like, thinking the show, like, changed all of a sudden like that. Meanwhile, we've joked about it plenty of times. Not really.
The exact same fucking.
The same exact thing. You just decided to wake up and be like, "Oh shit, wait, what?" And
It's
yeah, you kind of you're late to the party if you didn't.
all the
realize that.
same people that have been watching X-Men 97, and that's the first X-Men they've ever seen.
Yes, exactly. Now you just started. No, but like some people,
It's all the same people.
Yeah, we're referring to the same people. We're just like, oh my god, the boys, like they've changed. No, they haven't. This has all been there. Maybe the subtlety to some of the jokes has been removed a little bit.
Veil, the veil's been.
It's always been there.
lifted.
Go back and watch the episodes. It's all there, and that's what he said. Now Garth Ennis, though, who wrote the comics, very different. Remember his ending of Homelander, right? And again, Eric Kripke has came out and said the end, Homelander's end on the show will not be the same as in the comics. He's like, it's not going to happen. Now, for those who are unaware, Homelander gets killed at the end in the comics by Black Noir, who is revealed to be a Homelander clone, who was doing all the evil shit as Homelander and kind of framing Homelander. That's not where he said that's not the reveal. That's not happening. You can get it out of your mind. Stop with that.
After the first season, we knew that wasn't the fucking truth.
Well, because they established a Black Noir, right? Like they is its own person, and now you have an actor who Vaught has hired to act as Black Noir, which I think has been hilarious all season. That he won't shut the fuck up, and everyone just keeps telling him to shut up, and that's basically what his storyline has been so far. I
was hoping it was going to be the little brother from
Gen V.
Yeah.
Who we'll get to shortly because he does make an appearance in this episode and does have something to do with Homelander. But I guess let's focus on Homelander's story arc. We can go by story arcs here. So Homelander also talks to Ryan as Ryan is being pitched to do this teenage TV show that he doesn't want to do by that director that is obviously a shot at Zack Snyder, who did Dawn of the Seven. He's directing A-Train. We've seen him in Gen V. And he basically trying to pitch him this whole thing, and they're about to shoot shortly, and Ryan's not feeling any of it. And Homelander, in a moment where he seems like he's being genuine, is like, Ryan, what do you want? What do you want to do? And while this was going on, I'm kind of like, all right, Homelander seems like something. I'm like, I don't think he's gonna laser this dude's head off or something like that if he doesn't like what he says. But like, he just seemed like he was being genuine, and he even tells him that I know what it's like to be manipulated and told to do by others, and it's horrible. Now, where Homelander goes completely off the rails because you knew that was going to happen eventually. So he starts comparing being manipulated by others. He feels like he's emancipated now. And he said it's worse than slavery. And he starts going down his whole diatribe. You're like, all right, Homelander finally decided to take this thing that he was being genuine about. And now he's went off the rails with this thing.
Sounded like Gina Carano.
Yeah, right? Like you started off, you had me, but then you kind of like lost me along the way with like, what the fuck are you talking about? And Ryan also in another scene where Homelander's trying to be genuine with him, looks like, but then of course starts twisting it, is when he sees that same director with a female associate, and he's like, you could tell he was like maybe fucking with her and stuff, and was like talking about, did you get my text, and harassing her and stuff like that. And Ryan wanted to look like he wanted to intervene, and Homelander's like, do you actually want to help her? Like, okay, then go do it. And he intervenes, but then Homelander starts whispering shit in his ear, and he's like, yeah, just tell her to slap him. Made him get on his knees, the director, and start repeatedly slapping the shit out of him. Not saying that the guy didn't warrant it,
Well,
But it
you
was
forgot to
really good.
mention when you mentioned who the director is based off of. He's an amalgamation of Harvey Weinstein too.
Harvey Weinstein, yes, but I'm
So
talking about
like
like when
this
I mentioned
scene
Zack Snyder, it was
is
more
like
like
a comeuppance
yeah,
for somebody like that
yeah,
would do
exactly.
the, you know, it's a comeuppance scene. It's a fanfare scene. Like I thought it was fucking weird. I thought it was unnecessary. But I feel like that with a bunch of the boys scenes.
Really?
Like every episode, there's a scene that I'm like, eh.
Okay. No, I thoroughly enjoy the show. I mean, honestly, I have
No.
gripes.
Throwaway scenes that I don't throw the baby away with the bathwater. Like a throwaway scene is just me being fucking judgy on something I call a 9 out of 10 anyway. Like,
No, but I mean, there probably will be a follow up to that. I'm sure it'll escalate at some point, like Ryan maybe wanting to save people, or Ryan with this director, because the director didn't get killed or anything. He's always around.
right. Oh,
But
Ryan's
sure
gonna
there'll
end
be
up
something.
killing him probably.
Possibly. I mean, we'll see where that goes, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think it'll be necessarily a throwaway scene. I think it's going to escalate and lead to something bigger.
Oh no. I mean throwaway like I get that this guy is kind of like Harvey Weinstein, but is it necessary that we like watch him be on his knees getting slapped? Like I guess for some people that's cool. Like they would like to see that.
Yeah.
But it's a character getting a comeuppance, not the actual person.
Yeah.
So
but
for me, like I get what they're trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, again, I thought it was also funny on the surface because you're just like, all right, this guy's been a total dick anyway, so he gets slapped around a little bit.
He's worse than a dick. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. There's a lot of pieces of shit in the show, like
the whole show.
Tons of them. Yeah, there's rarely, like Huey is the good person apparently.
Is he?
Well, we'll get to Huey in a minute, but I mean, so far, I mean, he really hasn't done much to warrant like with a lot of other characters. Him and MM also has kind of been, you know, one of the rare characters. Like it's hard to find something where you're kind of like, all right, he was maybe a douche when he had to be, or something like that, or whatever it is. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But
so he's not powered.
No, he didn't take the V at all.
But he was able to hurt Billy Butcher when he was fighting him.
Well, but Billy Butcher was never like impervious to everything and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's a normal guy hitting him. He was kind of fucking him up.
No, but I mean, Butcher wasn't. Again, he's not powered at the. He's like when he's taking. Remember, Butcher also has temp V in him, so he's not like exactly the same as someone who was engineered to be a superhero and stuff like that. Like, see, there is differences with them. Like Huey took V at one. He took temp V at one point when he was invisible in season 3, but like he hasn't taken it since. So he's just regular old Joe who can sprain his ankle and shit like that.
For 2 episodes, I thought Huey's mother was make-believe, just like Negan is make-believe.
Well, I was gonna save that one, but
at least that's my opinion.
That's fine. No, it's total speculation. Because I've seen
it's speculation. I'm not letting the cat out of the bag.
No, not at all.
Yeah. But I thought Huey's mom was make-believe, but I'm pretty sure she's actually there now.
No, she 100% is there now.
Because nobody was interacting with her. It was like the Big Lebowski, the Donnie thing, how nobody interacts with Donnie except for the Lebowski. Nobody else talks to Donnie the whole movie. And it was kind of like that with Huey's mom. Like nobody was talking to her for like 2 episodes, just Huey.
No,
but
she's definitely there.
Now I think she's definitely there.
Yeah. All right. So then, as far as Homelander goes, though, he is also tied into. He at the end of the episode, he ends up throughout the episode. Him and Sage are trying to find whoever the leak is in the 7 and within Vought and Vought Tower. And throughout the episode, we find out that there's someone who ends up, and we know it's the audience knows it's A-Train, but within the show, A-Train goes ahead and he knows he's kind of getting cornered in, and he speaks to Ashley when they had that moment last week where they got caught in Homelander's apartment, and they decided that they were gonna help each other out when she was leaving the floater and he was stealing the fucking and he cashed it in because he was like, listen, you got to get me out of this shit. Like, I'm about to get caught, and then he knows that Homelander would probably fucking murder him, and that would be the end of that. So Ashley, at the same time, is getting dumped by the basically fake Tucker Carlson dude who was there, who's also hosting the V52 event there, and they have a conversation where she's trying to do her dominatrix thing again with him, and he shuts it down. She was like wanting him to wear like some Bluetooth anal beads like during the show or some shit like that, and he was like, "Nah, I'm good, because I want the person my dom needs to be dominating. You've got no power anymore within fucking Vought, so sorry about that. You're out now." And he dumps her, and out of revenge, she goes ahead and sets him up as the leak and serves him on a platter to fucking Homelander. And wow, do not fucking cross Ashley, man.
She's not there because she's not powerful.
Exactly. Like, she's not gonna fuck with Home. I mean, she was willing to leave a floater in Homelander's toilet.
Right. The balls that it takes to do that.
Yes.
And the fact that she's at the top of like the biggest company in the, I don't know, world or country.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, she's obviously a badass fucking like reckless human being. Like, she's willing to do what she's got to do.
Yeah.
If you mistake her, that's your fucking fault. Like,
and guess what? That dude did. He fucked around and found out, right? Like, because
dude, it's one simple rule. Fuck around.
Yeah.
Hey, find out.
Yes. And he finds out because basically he gets brought into the room where they have like the table of the seven, and Homelander at that point has gathered the seven, right, and Tech Knight, and the Guardians of Godolkin, who make their appearance earlier in the episode at the V52 event, and he's like, "Listen, I need you guys. There's a war coming. All right, we're gonna have to be ruthless, like ruthless gods. Like, you guys aren't gonna be goody two shoes heroes anymore and stuff like that. We're gonna have to do nasty shit." But he spins it to be like, "But we're gonna do this to save the country." Like, he puts that spin on it, and he's like, "You got to show me some wrath now." And he brings them the guy, the fake Tucker Carlson guy, and they beat the living piss. We don't even see the end of it. I'm gonna assume they beat him to death. Like, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, they had the sounds, yeah.
Yeah. Like, that's done. I'm shocked he'll show up bruised up the next episode. I think it's just he might be made an example of, like, publicly, or his body or some shit like that. Kind of like how I'm sure you're like watching House of the Dragon as well. Like
the rat catchers.
The rat catchers. Like, yeah, I can see Homelander totally doing some shit like that with him and wanting to be on display to kind of like not fuck with us. So that's where I kind of think that one was going. And other, I guess we can jump into the boys, and their whole thing is, so throughout their path that's here in this episode, they're basically trying to get Victoria Newman. They want to get Homelander caught wind, which we saw in Gen V, of the virus that kills Soups. He knows that Victoria Newman has it. The question is where. So him and MM go to Stan Edgar, who, I'm going to be honest, I actually completely forgot he was still alive.
I was wondering if he was dead. Yeah, same.
I did. I kind of spaced out.
I was like, damn, they kind of killed him off like kind of quickly.
But
no, they didn't. No, they didn't.
Yeah. They show up to prison. They offer him a presidential pardon. And he's kind of like not going for it, because I think he's in terms, he's like, you know something? I'm safer from Vought and Homelander in here.
Nah,
so
I think it's more than that. I think it's more than that. Yeah, I think his prison stay is a lot like Goodfellas.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that he's able to like run his businesses and manage his business from out of the jail, and like still like he said, do some pottery, I think that he's able to live a normal life in jail, because there's nothing that we know about him that makes him like this sexual beast.
No.
Like, he has no interest in women. He had a daughter with no wife. Like, he's about his business. You know what I'm saying? So from the jail, I believe that just like in the movie Goodfellas, when they're fucking cooking these meals and hanging out with
Razor
each
and the onions
other.
and everything.
Right. It was super, you know, you can barely see them, just like Kramer. I think that he was living that life, and for someone like him, like he might be okay in jail, fucking running his businesses and just living his life. Like for
Okay.
me, that's the kind of character that I know Gustavo Fring to be. He's about his business,
Now, are you
and
sure you're not mixing in Stan Edgar and Gustavo Fring into one character?
I think that we can all agree, just like when Professor X tells Bishop, everyone is in. I think we can all agree that Gustavo Fring and this guy are the same fucking character. So the way that I know that character, this character would be just fine living his life in jail. And I think when he turned him down, I don't even think it was a power move. I think he was just like, no, I'm good. I don't need this.
I kind of the way I took it, and you know, who knows? I took it as that I think he thought that he doesn't trust Homelander, and I think he figures, hey, he's not going to touch me in here. I'm in prison. There's too many witnesses, too much everything. So
Homelander doesn't care about any of that.
I don't know, man, because him and Homelander, from what I remember, they left off in a pretty fucked up note. And now that Homelander's gaining more power, and to the point where he is running Vought now, essentially, that's where I think maybe the concern is. But you could be right also. Maybe
Homelander have no problem going to that jail cell and lasering his head off and just.
Oh, right, Homelander at this moment, because Homelander. Yes. But remember though, Homelander, as much as he does feel like he can do that, Sage is the one who's kind of letting him know, like, you do still need the humans and the people to worship you, because he needs approval. He needs all of that. That's what they went into last episode, right? Like Vought kind of like work that into his personality that he can't shut it off as much as he's trying to.
It's so funny that Game of Thrones has the same fucking storyline going on right now. Oh, that you need to keep the people on your side. You know, like the Ratcatcher scene, like it's the same thing as like you have to keep the people on your side. Like these power moves, like they're not really power moves, dude. Like
no, not at all. Well, they go ahead, they offer him the presidential pardon. He turns it down, but he does take it when the daughter is involved, right? Like, hey, you can get full custody of her, because they even tell her what Victoria did to her, injected her with V, made her just like she has these powers now, and he was disgusted by that. So he's like, "Fuck it, I will."
She's terrifying.
Yeah, she is.
She's like a little girl, but a flirkin. Like,
like an evil flirkin. So once he knows he can get custody of Zoe, he accepts it, goes with the boys, takes them to this like country house that he has there, and that's what Victoria took over. And they do discover there that apparently that's where the tests are being done on random animals and stuff like that. There's like a rabbit. There's other stuff, but eventually we do find out that they're experimenting on fucking chickens and a bull and all this other shit, and they're hyped up on V. There's a scene where they're like chasing them. The bull is about to fucking run after them, and the bull gets ripped apart by a bunch of fucking flying sheep. So complete insanity ensues. But one of my favorite lines from that whole thing was when they go into the hen house there for a minute, and Frenchie's like, "Oh my god, this is happening again." I'm like, wait, what? What the fuck is going on?
I also didn't get that.
I just thought it was hilarious, because it's like, Frenchie's been through a bunch of shit, and it's like, wait, what? And he's probably high as shit on God knows whatever the hell he was doing last.
That's absolutely true. Because the last time he was super high, there was a bunch of shit floating around. And I want to say a rabbit was one of the things floating around.
Yeah, who the hell knows what the hell's going through Frenchie's head there?
Yeah.
So So yeah, basically they go have this whole battle with these sheep and everything like that, all these farm animals and everything. It gets real fucking crazy. And then by the end of it, like they meet up with Victoria and stuff like that, and she's looking for this guy named Samir, who apparently is kind of like her husband or whatever, or boyfriend, and they can't find him, and they do find him eventually. Butcher ends up kind of taking him to the side, and is like, "Listen, you're gonna fucking make some of the more of this virus now because they used the virus, they used the last of the virus to take out the sheep, right? Through the conversation
Right.
and everything, and they inject it into this dude, and he goes ahead and they sheep eat him and stuff like that, and they start exploding and yada yada and stuff like that. And Frenchie has another great line because he's like, "Wait, I don't think if you inject the guy, he's gonna be able to fuck the sheep."
I remember that because
Yeah,
I was like, why would he fuck the sheep?
And then was even like, the idea was for him to eat him, and they fucking die. What are you talking about?
I was thinking the same thing at the time. I'm like, why would he fuck the sheep? Like, what are we doing here? Before we move on from the sheep, I want to say I was kind of upset with the misdirection here
Okay.
because it was like totally fucking Monty Python Search for the Holy Grail with the fucking rabbit that like attacks and kills everyone.
Yeah, I wasn't.
But then the misdirection was they let the rabbit go, and then he killed the rabbit, and then the sheep were the ones flying around and not really killing anyone. So like I love this scene. I would have liked a little more humor in it, but I wish it would have been the rabbit. I wish like if you're gonna do fucking Monty Python, just do Monty Python.
Well, I think that. Well, I wasn't gonna move on without the rabbit though, because the rabbit does play an integral part here. Is that the rabbit that Butcher lets go goes on and has this like snake type thing in it, and when he finds the rabbit later on, it's bursting out of the rabbit, and he ends up stomping it out. But to me, it makes Butcher looks at it and thinks to himself, because the rabbit had Temp V, he has Temp V, he knows there's some kind of shit slithering around in him, which we saw in episode 4 around his back. So you got to imagine through Butcher's mind now, he's wondering, is this thing just gonna burst out of me one fucking day and just like alien style or some shit like that?
Well, you and Jason covered Diabolical with the old Asian lady that her cancer.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be Huey's dad that had something like that go on with him, but it's actually Butcher that I think, he has like this venom symbiote weird thing going on with him.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about it, but the rabbit was definitely like, this is where in my opinion, like this is where we're going. Like, and I hope that they make it. I hope that they really make it an entity like Venom that he can communicate and not that it's just like some fucking leech.
So it might not be something that took over him that made him kill Ezekiel when he blacked out in episode 4?
In the same way that Venom takes over Eddie Brock and like whoops ass and eats people. Like Eddie Brock doesn't eat anybody. Venom eats the people.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
That's my wish. My wish is that it's sentient, but in a way that we could enjoy it. Like, I think we know it's going to be sentient in a way that it needs to survive, but I would like it to be sentient in a way that we could enjoy, whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah. All right. So then he captures Samir. We find that at the end of the episode, though. Not that we're wrapping up, as we'll go back to Huey's thing in a minute. That Butcher's the one who kidnapped Samir, basically cut his fucking leg off, because they do throw the leg out earlier to kind of be like Samir died in that whole thing, but he's still very much alive. And he basically tells them, like, listen, I need more of that fucking thing. And then he kind of turns to the camera and gives the Butcher, like, evil smile there. And that's where the episode ends. But with him there is John Kessler as well, who is Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who you had mentioned earlier. Now, I guess this is a good time to get to it. Do we think that John Kessler is real or a figment of Butcher's imagination?
If you've ever seen Mr. Robot, Christian Slater, spoiler alert, is not really there, and Rami Malek is imagining him. I think that this character is not based off of fucking Fight Club and Tyler Durden like everyone that's only ever fucking seen Fight Club and unreliable. That's the only unreliable fucking narrator movie they've ever seen is Fight Club. How about you guys watch Memento? It'll blow your mind. And so I think that this character is more based on Christian Slater's character from Mr. Robot. That like he's actually a helper. I don't think that he's a bad guy. I think that he's a helper to get our character from like point A to point B.
All right, because if you really think about it for a minute, what is John Kessler? Number one, he also has not interacted with anybody besides Butcher.
Just
Number
like
two
Connie.
is though, yeah, well, that's a whole other story. Because I did rewatch the movie with that in mind and whatever. But he also, the things he's telling Butcher though are kind of very much along the lines of pushing him towards being like the violent Butcher, like the one that the boys themselves don't like the kind of the bad parts of Butcher versus like the good parts. Because even MM says, you're an asshole, but you're an asshole with like a heart, and stuff like that. Like you have that. So he is kind of like the devil on his shoulder that's been pushing him in that negative direction again, though. So that's where I'm not. I don't know where I stand on him being not there or not. Like,
no, you haven't like chosen.
No, I haven't chosen it yet because I can see where that makes sense though. I just don't know if that's where the show is going. But now, in the other side though, right? Like if we want to go through this angle. And this is not even premeditated. I'm kind of just going about it throughout the conversation now. So, you know how he's been seeing his ex-wife pushing him to do the good? John Kessler's been pushing him to do the bad. So it is almost like an angel-devil thing on the shoulders for Butcher, in a way. So, yeah, I think I am actually, I just may have convinced myself that he's not there.
You know what you did for me, too? Remember, I want this fucking thing swimming around with him to be sentient. Okay. I had thought that his wife was the thing talking to him. Okay. Now that I just heard you say that, I'm all aboard for the like angel and demon thing.
Yeah, I kind of think it is.
Not that this. Yeah, because that's where my head was I want this thing to be sentient. I think that's this talking to him. Yeah. However, now that I hear your idea, first off, he's definitely not there. So
yeah, I'm with you now on that. I'm gonna be honest. Now I'm with you on
but
that.
I'm gonna go with you on this is just like his conscious, like
yes,
Eminem or Dr. Dre. Like, which one do you want to be?
Basically, and I think we're gonna find out that the John Kessler was a real person that maybe died. That he knew.
Oh, definitely. It's
not just like a totally made up person. Like this is someone he worked with previously that died along the way. Maybe we'll get a sad, fucked up backstory, how they died working together for the CIA or some shit like that. So I do think there's something.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Okay.
I've got to run. Let me dip and grab a charger really quick. You move into the next segment. I can still hear you.
All right, good. So the other thing that we didn't get a chance really to get into too much here was Huey's storyline. Now, Huey in this episode, it picks up where his father was injected with the Temp V. He's kind of back from, not really his deathbed, but he's not dying. And the V makes him feel alive and he's better and stuff like that. And they spend all their time in the hospital in this episode. And we find out that, yes, the confirmation is there. Huey's mother did inject him with the V, but it was the V that Huey had in his pocket that he dropped. And she kind of just went for it and was like, hey, I felt bad that you grew up with one parent. I don't want to make sure that you have one parent, that you lose one now as an adult. So she thought that's what he wanted. And she was kind of on board, and they patched things up along the way. But there's a lot of like Huey's father and his ex-girlfriend, his ex-wife, and Huey patching a lot of things up. And this is really the heartfelt storyline of this episode here, because Huey's father does get powers where he's kind of like Kitty Pryde in X-Men, where he's phasing through things and shit like that. And he inadvertently starts phasing through people, but he also kind of has like an Alzheimer's type thing going on with him, where he's like not aware of what's going on in the present day, and he kind of is thinking back to the past. He doesn't recognize Huey at one point, and he's phasing through different hospital rooms and accidentally killing some people, like out of fear. He like phases through and bursts through this guy's chest who's laying there talking to his wife, because he doesn't know what's going on. He's fucking scared. And throughout the episode, they're dealing with a lot of that. And Huey, unfortunately, comes to the realization that this is obviously not right, and I'm going to have to make the tough choice. Now, that harkens back to earlier in the episode, where Huey's father explains to him why he didn't give him power of attorney. And he says, well, listen, you had a dog named Jar Jar who eventually kind of exploded, and you didn't make the call to put him down because he was in pain and he was clearly dying, and that would have been the humane thing to do. And he tells him on a couple of occasions, I didn't want to end up like Jar Jar. So he goes, I love you for it. You got a heart of gold. But when it comes down to this, I'm not confident you would have been able to make the hard choice when it was time. And that's where this episode, he learns. And by the end of the episode, Huey does unfortunately have to make the hard choice to withdraw the V out of him. And he ends up, going ahead and putting him down, essentially. And his father ends up, passing away. But it was the only way. Like, Huey's father mentally was scared. He's killing innocent people, and he can't control it and everything like that. Like, this was just, it was not worth keeping him alive at that point. Like, it was actually torture for his father at that point. And it was, it's a tough thing. It's a really tough thing that Hugh had to go through. And that's where, like, shit got serious in this episode, and and that's what I mean. Huey is the guy who also kind of he's been put through the most shit on this show. So, Rick, what are your thoughts on the
girl in the first 5 minutes?
Yeah, turned to sauce by A-Train. And then he even referenced it last episode, like, dude, you started this whole thing off by murdering my girlfriend. And now every bad thing has happened is because of you. So this has been kind of like leading up to a lot of this shit. And yeah, you feel terrible for Huey. Again, like it's rough, man. He goes through a lot, dude.
Yeah. I think Huey did the right thing here.
Absolutely.
Well, I think his mom did the right thing, and then I think he did the right thing, and I think that his dad was trying to coach him to the right thing.
Yeah.
You know what I was saying?
No, it was well written how the whole thing kind of came full circle for Huey and for his father.
Yeah. It basically, and it's funny because I just saw something on one of those like Judge Judy shows.
Mm-hmm.
This guy got he was in a terrible motorcycle accident. The EMT showed up and like gave him CPR and like saved his life. The guy had a DNR tattoo, which to him meant do not resuscitate. So he was trying to sue the EMT for saving his life because now he's got like $80,000 in medical bills. Yeah. It was a weird fucking clip.
Yeah.
But the EMT's job was to save a dying person. And here, Huey just wanted to save a dying person. And his mother just wanted to save a dying person. Everybody had all the best intentions, and it just didn't play out the way they wanted it to.
Yeah. And I think, ironically, Huey actually made the tough choice at the end of episode 4, because remember, he wasn't going to give him the V.
He didn't do it, right? He wasn't going to do it.
The mother intervened. So, as I'm saying, ironically, the person who we gave the power of attorney to was actually the one who didn't make the tough call, but her intentions were for Huey. Because she was kind of trying. That was her way of making up for what she had done in the past.
She made an easy call. She had no idea of the negative side effects.
No, she didn't, but Huey does, and that's why Huey made the tough call. Because of his conversation with Butcher and his own experience taking Temp V. So a knee-jerk reaction was, got to save my dad. But then, after taking a step back and thinking about it, he decided not to. The mom intervenes, trying to do the right thing, like you had said. But then again, he eventually has to make the tough call, and that was that. So that was definitely a sad storyline that is kind of like comes to pass here. A couple other quick notes before we move on. I wanted to mention, even as much as fucking Frenchie had two of the funniest lines in the episode that we went over, he also had a very serious thing because he turns himself in to the police and basically confesses to multiple murders, because you can see that even though he had his thing with Colin recently, Colin found out that he murdered his family and everything like that, which Frenchie told him that this whole thing that he's been doing is weighing on him, doing the shit he's been doing with the team and everything like that, and being kind of like a hired gun for a long time for various different people. It got to him, and he turns himself into the police like straight out. And I didn't see that one coming, to be honest with you.
I did. It's better than him killing himself.
No, you're right. Unfortunately, it looked like those were coming down to the options. But I just figured. I don't know where it's going to go from here, but I would imagine.
Oh, I'm sure the boys will find a reason to get him out of jail.
Yeah, no.
He'll leave. He'll join them. Yeah, they'll be. Yeah,
something will happen.
Wave the hand. It all makes sense.
No, I gotta be honest. You can say whatever you want. Like the boys is actually really good at not hand waving a lot of shit. They seem to really.
I mean, they hand waved Stan Edgar out of jail.
No, they basically gave him Zoe there. Zoe was the driving force for him to want to come out. He was like, "Hey, this chick is fucking shooting up my fucking girl with V and stuff like that. Like, I gotta save her."
Right.
So even him,
they promised him something they can't necessarily deliver with the daughter.
No,
they can't. They can't deliver it for sure.
Yeah,
it was a bit of a hand wave.
No, there was explanation. What are you talking about? If Stan Edgar would have just gotten out of jail, like Palpatine, and somehow returned, then yes, that would have been hand waving. Yes, that is. If Tim is watching this, yes, that is.
Stan Edgar is out of jail.
Somehow.
Somehow.
That is our bar for the worst explanation, the worst hand wave in maybe history. That is there. That was WCW hand wave. That's how bad that was. Unfortunately, listen, love Star Wars, but man, that was rough. Just have to do that. And such a big moment too.
He's like, somehow everybody else on the ship is like, all right.
Okay.
What George said.
Yeah. All right. So, anything else on the boys before we get to our movie of the week?
We skipped a shit ton of dialogue that was so good this episode.
What do you got? Any kind of random things? I feel like we
I loved when Billy Butcher walks in and Starlight's giving him shit. And he's like, I'd call you a cunt, but you're not warm or deep enough. I was like, let's go.
I'm actually going to say
he has some fire lines. No,
dude, Butcher always has the fire lines here. The deep had one, by the way, at the V52, where Vaught is obviously like, and again, this is where the show does take shots at anything and everyone, right? Like, it's not just one main thing. But they're making fun of corporate America and stuff like that, obviously, in this thing, where they're like, yeah, on Vaught Plus, there's this new feature where if you can go ahead, based on whoever's watching it, like, for an example, if you're a white person and you're streaming this movie, it shows a Budweiser. I'm just using an example, paraphrasing here.
No, that's like right? What he said. You're almost verbatim.
But if you're African American, I got cognac in my hand, and you can see like H&M like
not just cognac, peach flavored cognac.
Yeah, peach. Like, what the fuck are we doing? And the deep is like, yeah, get woke, go yoke. Get woke, go yoked. And I
love that. They used to say go woke, go broke. Now it's go woke, get yoked.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm pretty close to making that t-shirt for the gym. That would be a fucking great t-shirt for the gym.
But you need the deep on there flexing to sell that shit.
On the back, I gotta have Bird do a DFT for me that I can put on the back. A DTF.
Shit, was there any other like Oh, actually, the one I'm going to quote you from the one thing. So early in the episode, we get a quick quote from Firecracker talking shit on TV about Starlight, and she's like, "Yeah, this chick Starlight doesn't know whether she wants to rape a baby or kill a baby."
I texted that to you at like
Yes,
7 a.m. And
Before we saw the episode, so out of context,
for,
we were like,
for
"What the
anybody for anybody watching the show, I have a young child, about a year old, so I get up very early, and sometimes I get my TV out of the way at the crack of dawn. So I heard that line, and it blew me away so much. I texted to Ed and Jason, and they both almost damn near cussed me out.
Because we didn't know what the fuck you were talking about. Like, we knew it was boys related.
Zero
Obviously.
context. I told you it was a throwaway line.
No, I don't think it is, because it's just like, you know, this is the crazy shit that's been going on with this chick. Like, she's completely off the fucking rails.
I think that it's really. At what point do they talk about that?
What, a firecracker is?
No, Starlight having an abortion. At what point does that become part of the storyline?
No, I mean, I think it's in the storyline. Her and Huey had a whole conversation about it in episode 4.
It's a big fucking deal.
No, it is, but I mean,
yeah, but it's like, it's a big fucking deal, and like Huey and Starlight, like I don't know. It's like they bought a new set of tires. Is how it fucking feels like they're treating a pretty fucking a big turning point in relationships. Like it's a big deal to go through that. And I feel like this show is like treating it like they fucking got a new set of tires on their car.
Well,
like,
I will say in their defense, they can go back to it. I mean, I think they had a heartfelt conversation about it. But again, for the characters, this was in the past.
We never knew when it was happening.
No, because it happened during the 6 months between seasons 3 and 4, where they had their conversation about it. But the point is, they were using it as, again, they had their discussion. They admitted that they were like not ready and things were going on. Remember, they're dealing with a lot of crazy shit right now that's been going on. Starlight is dealing with her whole thing with the Starlighters, and she's the face against Vought and Homelander. And I mean, for them to have time to even consider starting a family would be kind of nuts in their situation.
If this was The Walking Dead when it was in its heyday, they would dedicate a whole episode to a flashback of that period in time.
They might address it. Also, The Walking Dead dedicated an entire episode to what the fuck was it? Daryl and Carol farming, which was one of the worst.
Had a lot of episodes.
Oh my god, was that awful?
They also dedicated a whole episode to Carl finding a jar of peanut butter and eating it on the roof.
Exactly. So let's not go there with that. I don't need episode 6 of The Boys to tell me the flashback of how the time Frenchie encountered people fucking sheep.
Oh no, we got that. We got Frenchie's fucking flashback. I think we can get Starlight's flashback.
Yeah. All right, and I know they dropped the trailer. Apparently, they're dropping trailers for the next episode, for episode 6. It apparently revolves around like Tech Knight is holding this fucking whole thing in his mansion, and insanity is going to ensue with this because this character.
I need him to be Tech Knight at some point. I don't like that he's just this TV guy. I'd like to see him in costume, like fucking whooping ass.
Well, I mean, the thing though is that a lot of the way that superheroes are portrayed in this universe has been a lot of them just being like
they don't actually whoop ass.
Yeah, exactly. That they're kind of somewhat full of shit. They can, but do they really? So I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I think that's the saddest part about this show is the only time we ever saw them where they were in a position to save people from a situation that they did not create was the airplane.
Yes, I already knew where you're going. I thought about it immediately.
And they didn't. That's how bad. Like, superheroes don't exist. Powered people exist.
Yeah, and again, I think it's more about selling it to the public as an idea that doesn't really exist. Like, hey, they sell these movies, they shoot these movies, but they're total douchebags, and they could save people, but they're too much of assholes and they're so fucked up that they don't even bother with any of that.
What if this is not a social commentary on comic books or politics, and it's purely social commentary on social media?
I mean, I think that's a part of the aspect, but I think personally, I just think the show is commentary on basically everything. Anything and everything they want, they will slip in there at some point.
It's true.
So, because even think about Gen V took plenty of shots at social media. Remember how that like the students had to like sell themselves and get votes and shit like that. Like I think they focused on a lot of social media.
Well, that's the amateur level,
yeah, exactly.
And these guys are on the pro level. On the pro level, you're already part of the team, so you have to like play these games.
Yeah. All right, so we'll get to Boys episode 6 next week, and let's get on to our movie of the week. So as we continue to do our countdown to Deadpool and Wolverine, which is less than a month away now, so that's pretty damn exciting that we are going to be getting that movie soon enough. We've been decided to rewatch the Fox era X-Men movies, and this has brought us to X-Men Days of Future Past, the Road Cut. So I know last week Jason and I had discussed X-Men Days of Future Past. Rick, me and you didn't get a chance to discuss Days of Future Past, but I think the brief part on the Road Cut, just on the surface, is an additional 17 minutes. And at about an hour and 30 into this movie, which is 2:28 runtime, is when the real differences start popping in. Ultimately, doesn't change anything whatsoever. No, it doesn't. There are subtle changes to things, but in the grand scheme of the story, nothing changes. This is not the Snyder Cut. This isn't even BVS, Ultimate Edition. This is, hey, you made it. Rogue was a huge character, and people were excited to see her
fucking
back.
Deal since day one, yeah.
Yeah, and people were pissed because I was reading about exactly what happened here, and apparently they cut out a lot of the stuff with Rogue because I guess Anna Paquin was also really not available to do any kind of reshoots and things like that, and they kind of felt her character.
Little show called True Blood, wasn't it?
No, that was over already.
It was over already? What the fuck was she doing after True Blood? Get out of here.
I don't know. I don't even know. But dude, there are so many shows now. Who the fuck knows? I don't even know what goes on. But ultimately, the fans demanded that the Road Cut exist, kind of like the Snyder Cut, but that was on a whole different level.
Will the Joker ever get his fucking just due? Will Jared Leto's Joker ever get his fucking
no? That's over.
60 minutes?
The current regime of Warner Brothers and James Gunn and Peter Safran are like, we've moved the fuck on. Just let it be, man. We are done. Let us
Come on, man. Jared Leto.
Stop. But I'm just saying, like, if you're a huge fan of Days of Future Past, which a lot of X-Men fans are, I would recommend checking it out, like the difference in the Road Cut, but just temper your expectations because it's not going to be this like mind-blowing, game-changing thing. Like my issues with Days of Future Past, and I said last week, and I'll say it again, I enjoy the shit out of this movie. It's a lot of fun. The problems with my issues with this movie are its connective tissue to the rest of the series, to anything outside this film, just about. Mainly the Bryan Singer era of X-Men movies, because it actually connects perfectly to First Class, right? Because Bryan Singer didn't write this movie. He came on to direct this movie and take up for Matthew Vaughn, who was supposed to direct this movie originally. And Bryan Singer's the one who jumped back in the director's chair and got back in, and he took the movie over from him. So you can kind of see where it's connected there. But like Bryan Singer, dude, you're the one who directed 2 of the 3 original X-Men movies. Did you at any point be like, maybe this doesn't add up? Maybe this doesn't add up. So I guess we'll get Rick. Yeah, we'll have a brand new conversation about that because I know we wanted to talk about that. But
I watched last week's episode, so definitely the spirit of Jason Christ is here with us a I definitely, I definitely watched last week's episode, and I got your guys' opinions and the ideas you had on a couple of things that was going on. So I'm definitely up to date on what Granny's Peach Tea thinks of this series.
All right. Well, I mean, again, for this movie though, what did you think then? I guess of the road cut then. What Days of Future Past in general?
This movie, I thoroughly enjoyed myself while watching this film.
Mm-hmm.
I loved. It reminded me how. So people act like when MCU or bust, right? People act like the MCU is the be all end all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Blade #1, and Blade 2, I'll put against anything in the MCU. They're so fucking good. X2, First Class, like there's comic book films that were done well. Like it doesn't have to be your favorite,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean it wasn't done well. This movie, I'm gonna go into the realm a little bit with you about it.
I had, of course, you knew I knew that was coming. So let's go.
When I watched, what's the movie with John Travolta with the girl? It's the fucking like 50s and they're dancing. You're the one that I want. Fuck. God, the movie's escaping me. Anyway, I'm one of the people that believe that in that movie, like when they're telling the story and it goes into the movie, it's a fucking fever dream that the girl had as she drowned. I'm one of the believers of that theory.
Okay.
With this movie, I've watched it in the theater. I've watched it maybe once between when it came out and now. I watched this movie as Wolverine being Wolverine, right? He's like this 200-year-old guy. He's got a healing factor, right? However, Stryker shot him in the fucking head with an adamantium bullet. He fought the Incredible Hulk and got fucking smashed in the head.
Okay, here we go.
For me,
why this Wolverine did not fight the Incredible Hulk?
I might have. He might have, because he's Weapon X, and Weapon X fought the Incredible Hulk.
Okay.
So you might not have seen him fight the Incredible Hulk. However, since he is called Weapon X fought the Incredible Hulk. So when I watch this film, it's Wolverine's CTE nightmare. And that's why the disjointedness of the storyline and the things that don't quite add up make sense. Is because this is Wolverine having a dream that he wakes up from. And when he wakes up from his dream, who does he encounter? Professor X, who loves him and understands that his brain is broken. And sometimes I have to welcome you like this with your CTE and your broken brain. And like, I know your story sort of. So when I watch this film, I'm all in because that's my understanding of this film.
Okay. I'm going to respectfully disagree with that one. I'm going to take it on face value as this. No, I think, and listen.
Just,
Yes, that you are being very generous to the writers of this film and the connective tissue of, see, I will agree with you on one part. And yes, there are other, and again, it's why part of the reason we do the show that we do is there are other comic book movies that are not the MCU that are good. There are other Marvel movies that are not the MCU that are also good. There's some that are also horrendous.
They're all named Batman.
Huh?
They're all named Batman.
No, I'm just saying that like there are a lot of other things. I'm talking about just like Marvel related movies, like they do exist. And
Spider-Man 1 and 2.
Spider-Man
Amazing.
1 and 2. We went over it. X-Men and X2 are also really good. First Class. I fucking love X-Men First Class.
So good.
Okay. This movie, I really enjoy Days of Future Past. Now, again, with the continuity issues in the Fox X-Men universe, they are a lot. And it is just wild because they're so frustrating that they can be fixed so easily if somebody was just paying attention.
If you just watch the fucking movie that you're doing the sequel to.
Yes, that's all I'm asking for. It's not a lot.
Just watch it.
So
One time.
regarding that part of it, the Charles and Mystique thing, and I mentioned this last week, it's so aggravating to see Patrick Stewart's Charles Xavier talk about this, because we're like, we know from that era of X-Men, that Mystique, that Charles had no previous relationship whatsoever. Don't try to fucking shoehorn that shit in now. Ain't nobody buying that shit. So just stop with that. Where the fuck were the Sentinels during the first 3 X-Men movies?
That was the Divergent timeline.
Okay. So therefore, the correction is they just weren't. Well, actually, they do make a brief appearance in the Danger Room. The head is on the ground in X3, the last thing.
Why would the head be there if Sentinels didn't exist?
Fair enough. But they were still, and I know Trask was in prison and stuff like that, which, by the way, the road cut does have a mid-credit scene that the original movie does not have. So I thought that, I actually totally forgot about it, so I rewatched it earlier today.
What was it? I didn't notice it.
Well, I'll get to that in a minute.
All right.
We'll go through it. I thought it was interesting that they do confirm more in the road cut that Iceman and Kitty Pryde did end up together after X-Men 3. Like in X3, at least Jason and I rewatching it, we're kind of like, we feel like that was a really forced storyline, a love triangle that doesn't really warrant it. You know what I mean? Like it just comes out of left field and it just doesn't go anywhere.
I want to co-sign on what you're saying. I'm going to use 20 seconds.
Okay.
Coming into this film, I was a believer that the X-Men films are all just different timelines that we're watching. That's how I came into it.
That's what the writers
exiting the film, I was like, this was just a nightmare that Wolverine had. But coming into it, I believe that there were different, because it doesn't work on the same timeline as the MCU. However,
well, not the MCU.
You can use current MCU mathematics when watching it and just be like, well, every time something changed, it created a divergent fucking branch. And all these people lived on other branches.
Well,
however, it's kind of similar.
Well, this is the only time
that was my understanding coming in.
This is the only time that the Fox X-Men universe used time travel. It was only in this movie. So, and they set their rules. Remember, we said you set your rules, and it's fine. This movie does still not abide by. They abide by their own time travel rules, but it doesn't change the movie-to-movie connective tissue. Is not good. Like
Wolverine, his bone claws are an issue in this film.
In what way?
His adamantium and his bone claws because of the movie The Wolverine.
Well, no, because. Well, yes, and that's what we did explain, that The Wolverine leading up to Days of Future Past does not work. It doesn't work. No, it doesn't.
All right, so it's a divergent fucking branch.
It's not. It's
Eddie.
Dude, they had a mid-credit scene setting it up.
If you just say it's a divergent branch, then it all makes sense.
Yes, but I'm not trying to hook up the writers. The writers got paid. I'm not getting paid to do this. I'm just like showing them.
You got to call a spade a spade.
Yeah. No, I'm calling them out on their lackluster bullshit. All right. So, by the way, and I'm going to give Jason credit on this, and it irked me more because I had it in my mind now. Yes, Logan should not remember anything about when he wakes up in 1973. Because he doesn't know about any of that, because when he got shot with the adamantium bullet, he forgot everything that happened previously. So therefore, he should not know anything about banging the boss's daughter, about any of that shit. He shouldn't know anything about anything. And he does. And that is another problem. Because Bryan Singer didn't watch X-Men Origins Wolverine, and good for him. Lucky him that he didn't watch that movie. And the writers of this movie clearly did not watch that movie.
That movie has its own fucking timeline issues too.
No, dude, I'm telling you right now, Rick, if you have been following it, when you're watching it week to week consecutively, it hurts your brain to
No,
actually try to put it together.
Ed, it doesn't hurt your brain if you just go, oh, like when Loki was explaining like diverging timelines, it's like different branches, new universes.
But nothing
Then all
new
of
was
this shit
happening.
it's easily, it's like
Nothing,
somebody that has an egg allergy eating fucking fake eggs.
nothing new was happening between these movies. What I'm saying is there was no time travel to create these divergent timelines until this movie existed. All this movie does by the end of it is erases X-Men: The Last Stand.
It
Everything
does.
else is still
It
in
does
place.
for sure. It
Well, it
does for
does,
sure.
100%. Because they even say at the end of the movie, after between 1973 and whatever date they're saying that he wakes up in, it's changed. So it was basically erasing the palette for X-Men Apocalypse to jump in and do whatever the fuck they wanted because it was a new timeline. This movie does reset it. I don't debate you on that, but when this movie is happening, the previous stuff is still intact, and it does not connect to it.
No, and it erases it.
It erases it. Well, part of it.
All
It
the-
doesn't.
part of it.
It erases. Essentially, it erases everything but First Class.
See, you say that. However, when Wolverine shows at the house, it's only Beast and Professor X that are there.
No, because that movie still exists. Because remember, when this movie is happening, everything's
Is
intact.
before First Class?
When the end of the movie happens, that erases everything except First Class. Because First Class took place in 1963. He says, Wolverine specifically says,
Right. So where
1973
is everyone when Wolverine shows up to the house and it's only Hank McCoy and Professor X? Where's everybody else?
no, Mystique explains it. Havoc was in Vietnam, right? He was going to get tested on by there. Banshee was murdered by Trask and his Trask company. Mystique, obviously, we know where
Oh
she
yeah.
was. They do explain it, but it's usually
They do.
Yeah, which when Mystique gets pissed and she finds those files and she's crying, that's when she finds out how many people got murdered. Havoc is basically the only one who lived because Havoc shows up in Apocalypse. Again,
Havoc's amazing. I love Havoc.
Havoc, the younger brother of Scott Summers, but hey, in this new timeline, he's older than Scott. Fine, no problem. The Quicksilver scene is still phenomenal. Like it's absolutely
The only thing you could compare it to is Nightcrawler's opening scene.
yes, and both are phenomenal. They're great scenes, awesome scenes here. And Evan Peters as Pietro Maximoff is great. Even Ralph Boner, it's okay. Like, he's awesome.
He's the best.
So as I mentioned, there's no real changes. So if you're a fan and have not seen it, just when you start streaming it, put it to an hour and 30 in, then hit play. Then you will see the differences. Because there are two subtle scenes that are slightly different prior, but it's hardly noticeable, to be honest with you. It does virtually nothing. So the big differences we get now, though, is Raven goes back to the X Mansion, okay? After that whole scene where she tries to with the Vietnam commander and she gets shot in the ankle and stuff like that while she's jumping out the window, she goes back to the X Mansion in the road cut, and her and Beast rekindle that whole relationship they had in First Class, and they're about to, and I'll say for Jason, get it on. They're down until she acts as Beast because they return to form. She goes to her blue form. He starts beasting out, and he explains kind of like Hulk style, like if he gets excited or riled up, then the beast fur and stuff comes out. And and they were right there in front of the fire about to get it on until she's like, they start talking about the things that they said when they last saw each other in First Class, and he talks about, she's like, yeah, mutant and proud, and like, that she's proud of who she is, like she's there, and he's not, and he clearly backs away, and that kind of takes them totally out of it, and that breaks that thing up. But then we also find out Raven was there to sabotage Cerebro so Charles couldn't track her. So she also still had a point of, she wasn't just going back to the mansion to go get some from Hank McCoy. She was also like, I'm going to complete my mission. But fuck it. If this happens, okay. Because she was down. She wasn't like not. But
let me ask you a question. In the X-Men universe,
yes,
Mystique was Rogue's like surrogate mother.
In the normal one, yes. In this universe, that's totally out the window. You know that.
All right. Now, in the X-Men universe, Nightcrawler is somebody she gave birth to.
Yes. Not in this universe, clearly. But yes.
Do you think,
X-Men, yes.
let me ask you a question. Do you think that two blue characters can make a blue baby that has a tail and is super acrobatic?
So you're saying that Hank McCoy in this universe could have been Nightcrawler's father?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
It could have been happening if
that's why he's hairy. That's why he's blue. That's why he's athletic and acrobatic. Like, I think that Nightcrawler, I think that he's the child of Hank McCoy and Mystique in this universe.
Well, but no, it never happens. He doesn't do it.
Doesn't do it while we're on screen.
No, he jumps away and walks away.
Come on.
He left the room. The moment was gone. The moment was gone. He did. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Dude.
He did. I'm just saying, he gets up and leaves.
No. You think Raven didn't go back to his room?
No, I think when she used it as a distraction to go to Cerebro so he wouldn't interrupt again.
No way. She turned into Jean Grey, went back to his room.
Why Jean Grey? What does that have to do with Hank McCoy?
Jean Grey
wasn't even born yet. She doesn't know who Jean Grey is.
Jean Grey is the hottest chick in the Marvel universe. She showed up.
Oh boy.
All right. Anyway,
all right.
The Beast is definitely Nightcrawler's dad. Moving on. They're both blue, dude. He's blue. That's his kid. It's his kid.
I'm not co-signing on that. It's not happening. But the other thing that we get here too is that Iceman and Magneto, apparently when in the original version, when Logan cuts Kitty Pryde, and she continues in the original version, right? She just like fights through it. This version, like she can't continue, and Iceman's like, I do know somebody, and they all know the person, that's Rogue, but apparently she's thought to be dead, but he says, hey, she's locked up where you can't get to her in Cerebro in the fucking mansion, because remember, the X-Men are in Moscow and China at this point. They've been on the run globally. So Iceman and Magneto and Charles take the Blackbird. They go to the mansion. They break in. They free Rogue because they're testing her and they're experimenting on her and all this other shit. They get her out, but then the Sentinels show up, the future Sentinels. Bobby Drake goes ahead and sacrifices himself so they can get away, and they kind of go ahead and they escape. And there's an important thing here. So that's what I'm saying. There's more details in this that were kind of like glossed over. The arm of the Sentinel that was chasing them, right, locks onto the jet, and that's how the Sentinels find him at the end of the movie when they were basically wiping out the X-Men. So we didn't know how that doesn't get explained in the original one. So that's kind of how it happens in here. So I did appreciate that part. And this whole little side quest thing, I thought it was kind of cool, man. It gave Charles and old Eric something to do here.
It actually, so normally when I watch films that I've seen and then I watch like the director's cut, I don't normally notice the difference. I actually noticed the difference during this part. Because I was like watching the movie and I'm watching it and I'm like, dealing with my kid and doing this and letting the dogs in the yard and watching a movie and like eating a snack.
Mhm.
And then I was like, wait, and I had to pause it. And my wife's like, what's up? And I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm watching right now.
No, these two
Because
things
I'd
were
never
different.
seen that scene before, right?
Yeah, no,
The
these are
whole
the noticeable
movie,
things.
right?
Yeah.
The whole movie, I was like, oh, dude, I've seen this before. Like, I'm like, just rereading a book that I've already read. And then I got to this part and I was like, I'm confused. Like, like I don't know why they're doing this.
Yeah.
Like, and I had to like rewind it another 15 minutes to be like, oh, wait, I guess they just go get Rogue at this point.
Yeah, because
like my mind made the calculation, like the scenes actually stood out while they never stand out when I watch a fucking director's cut. They never stand out.
Yeah.
And here it made me rewind the movie like 15 or 20 minutes to be like, what the fuck did I miss?
yeah,
What
no,
I missed was I'm watching a different version.
There's a solid gap of it. Now, as I said before, a minute and 30 in is where the last 45 minutes of where these things take place. There are like additional side quests that do add context to the original film. And I agree with the fact that they were taken out and it doesn't hurt the film. But it does cross some I's and dot some T's that the original film glossed over. So I'll give them that. And I did like seeing Anna Paquin's Rogue back. Again, someone who's been such a big deal in this universe, you might as well get her back in there as well. So I thought that was kind of cool. And she ends up taking over for Kitty Pryde because Kitty's injured by Logan. She basically just stands over there and just does the thing. And Logan notices her on the other end because he even mentions Rogue at one point. And the other difference in this is the mid-credit scene that I mentioned, Rick, is there's a mid-credit scene where Trask is in Magneto's prison. They show him laying down in the prison and locked up in the Pentagon, and they slide him his plate of food, and he's all like hairy and covered and stuff like that. And he's just kind of like laying in the prison, and that's it. So it was more like a quick irony thing of like, yeah, this is you were trying to put them away, but now you got put in one of their prisons. And on top of that, Magneto's plastic prison, connective tissue to the original movies, shouldn't really exist just yet, but whatever. It is what it is. So that's that. So I mean, hey, it's not. I wouldn't call the Rogue cut a must see.
In the Avengers movie, what was it? They put Loki somewhere that was built for the Hulk.
Yes.
So they might have put Magneto somewhere that was built, kind of built for somebody that was right before him. Well,
though, but they if I remember right, they in X2 they do clearly state they just built this prison somewhere else.
Oh, then never mind.
So yeah,
it's Wolverine's dream anyway, Ed. It's how he remembers it.
You gotta stop this.
I'm telling you, it's Wolverine's dream. All right. No, it works.
Let's go.
It's just a fucking dream. There's movies. Nightmare on Elm Street is just a dream. None of the things that Freddy does actually happen in the real world.
Some of the people might have an argument with that. When they die.
When they die, they have an argument.
They're like, listen, man, he's real, dude.
When they're dead, they say that.
Yes. At their funeral, they pop up and they're like, yo, he's real.
Then they die again.
The parents might have an issue with that. How about that?
We're the parents in this movie.
Exactly. All right. Anything on Days of Future Past, though, you wanted to comment on before we wrap this thing up?
I think it's great. I think everybody should watch it if you haven't already seen it. We covered all the things in my notes. I think Bishop's M on his face, now it makes sense to me.
Oh, they rebranded you. Yeah.
No, but the M has always been there. Yeah. But I never knew why it was there. Because when Bishop got introduced to comic books, I stopped reading comic books like a year later. So I have like 3 copies of Bishop's first appearance, mint condition. I read one of them, but I didn't know why he had the M on his face. Okay. So this movie is actually like, oh, they have the M on the face because they're fucking mutants.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, now
Yeah, they covered
Bishop's,
it.
now that's kind of cooler. Not cooler, but now it makes more sense.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't just like, hey, I'm a mutant. I'm going to let you know about it.
Right. And it makes me wonder in the comic books, did they create Bishop with that and then create future stories to match that?
Oh, kind of like the symbiote with Spider-Man.
Dude, that's my whole argument on all my comic book groups. Is Secret Wars #8, Venom is on the cover. It wasn't Venom later when it showed that it was Venom. It's Venom from the time it was fucking ever produced. It was always Venom.
Well, I mean, we could have a separate discussion about that, but that's, I don't know. I can see both sides of that. I understand what you're saying, that it is a symbiote. The suit is always a symbiote. It never wasn't a symbiote.
Correct.
But
that's all that I'm saying.
But the argument is when it bonded with Eddie Brock is when it became Venom, and it gave itself its name. Because it wasn't talking to Peter Parker saying, we are Venom. It didn't have the mouth and everything like that. Like, it was a little bit different. Because it was, I mean,
it was a baby symbiote.
I understand, but still, it did not, it was a little bit different. You can go to a different persona at a different point.
When you were a baby, you were still Ed Camus.
But as I got older, I started going by Ed and not Eddie anymore. And some people who know me for a long time still call me Eddie, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. I don't care.
It's not actually your name.
No, it's still a word, but like, well, I feel like only, I don't know. There's just, if you correct somebody from calling you by a nickname and go by your full name, I don't know. I always found that to be a little bit odd.
I do that at work. People are like, I'm like, I'm Enrique, or you can call me Rick. And they go, what about Ricky? And I go, my mother and like my best friend that I've known since I was like 15 call me Ricky. If you want to be in that fucking company, feel free to call me Ricky and see what my response will be to you. You know? So,
okay, no, I'm just saying it's fine. I mean, hey, you go by.
I like my mom. There's literally like 2 people in the whole world that refer to me that name. So if you think that you belong in that fucking group, go ahead. Use that name. It's like the N-word. It's like, go ahead.
Whoa.
Say it. Go ahead and say it.
Say it again. Say it
if you're one of me, if you're one of me, if you are my mother or a sibling of mine or my best friend who's basically a sibling of mine, you can call me that. If you're outside of that, you can't. But go ahead and say it. How did Damon tell him? He was like, go ahead, say it before he fucking cut his head off.
Oh, I was thinking more of next Friday with Pinky.
Oh, that's a good one, too.
I was like, say it again. Say it again. Say it one more motherfucking time and this shit is over.
That's a great one. That's good. But I love Damon. I love Damon when he tells the guy, he's like, no, go ahead, say it. Like, call them bastards again. Go ahead, say it. Like, I love that shit. Anyway.
All right. Well, either way, we digress. Thank you for joining us as always. I had a great time on this episode as always. If you're joining us on Facebook live stream, be sure to check us out on Granny's Peach Tea Facebook group. Join us here. It's a lot of fun. Check out all the trailers and stories that don't make the show that we do share on a daily basis, and a lot of random other comic book crap that me or Rick and Jason will throw up there, and Tim throws up some shit too. So
everything
it comes out of nowhere. Yeah, whatever it is. Check out Pop Culture Pros as well on popculturepros.com, because that's what we are presented by. If you check us out on YouTube, subscribe to Pop Culture Pros. And on X, you can follow at Pop Culture Pros as well. Rick and I will be back next week as we'll be talking about the latest episode of The Boys Season 4, which will be episode 6. And we will continue the journey through the Fox era X-Men movies. Now, Rick can get real excited that he's doing this because now he gets to watch X-Men Apocalypse.
I've worked with people in X-Men Apocalypse.
You have, and you can definitely drop those stories.
Yes,
during our review next week. So, but it is still X-Men Apocalypse. We're almost there. We're getting there. So,
The Monday Night Wars continue.
So we'll see you next week then. Peace.